Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Villalobos, WiCyS Community Manager, and I would like to welcome you to this WiCyS webinar with JPMorgan Chase on the topic of lessons to my younger self. But before we start, I'd like to introduce a little bit about the WiCyS organization. We often go by our acronym WiCyS, as in We Sisters, because that's exactly what we are, a global cyber sisterhood. We are a 501c3 with over 7,000 members in 70 countries. WiCyS is a premier organization with global reach dedicated to bring together women in cyber. Our mission is to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. All of our programs and initiatives are made possible by our supporting strategic partners such as JPMorgan Chase. We have our professional affiliates, student chapters, volunteer committees, mentor-mentee program, job board, member forum, and so much more. You can view our training programs and initiatives at our website at WiCyS.org to learn more about different ways to get involved with the WiCyS community. We owe all of our wonderful initiatives to our strategic partners, our Tier 1 partners being Akamai, Amazon, Battelle, Bloomberg, Cornell Meghan University Software Engineer Institute, Cisco, Fortinet, Google, Lockheed Martin, Meta, Microsoft, Optum, Sandia National Labs, and Sentinel One. Reminder to ask questions throughout the webinar. You can put them in the chat and the presenter will answer them at the end. We have the experts here today and they look forward to hearing from you. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our WiCyS newsletter at WiCyS.org to stay up to date on any upcoming WiCyS events and trainings. And with us today, we have JPMorgan Chase on the topic of lessons to my younger self.
Hello, I can go now?
Yep, go ahead.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be with all of you today. Just give me a minute. I am going to share some slides with you to walk you through. But as noted, please note your questions and we'll leave time at the end to answer any questions that you may have. So with that, let me share my screen. Great. Okay, so I'm Rosa Ramos-Kwok. I'm a managing director here at JPMorgan Chase in cybersecurity and technology controls. And for the next hour, you're going to get to know me a little bit better. And I'm going to share with you my journey and, some points that I wish I would have known along the way that hopefully all of you can benefit from. And I look forward to hearing from the sisterhood as we're doing this. I love that we're called sisters here because this is to you, my sisters. So who is Rosa and why am I here talking to you today? Well, here's my very impressive resume. I have this really fancy title. I'm a managing director at one of the most systemically important banks in the world. I work in cybersecurity and technology controls as a managing director. I am the business information security officer for the commercial bank. I've had a long career in financial services, rising through the ranks at different firms. And so I've been recognized by a number of organizations. I'm on the board of the High Tech Organization, and I'm the chair of their board of directors. I've been noted as one of the top 100 Latinos in the US, and I've made it to 2 halls of fame. Bloomberg Linnea just named me as one of their 100 most influential Latinos. I have been named as one of the most powerful female engineers in the United States. Latino Leaders wrote an article about me and noted my accomplishments. I was even quoted in the Wall Street Journal. Well, it was the Wall Street Journal online version, but we'll take it. Harvard Business Review also included me in a quote in one of their articles. So you might be thinking, this person, Rosa Ramos-Kwok, managing director at JPMorgan Chase in cybersecurity and technology controls, has really climbed the ladder. She has made it to the pinnacle of success. I wonder what her path was like. Maybe her path was like the image on the left, a straight shot. And I am here to tell you that my path to where I am today is more like the image on the right. Lots of turns and fits and starts and forward moves and some even backward moves. So what would I tell my younger self if I could? What do I want to tell to my sisters here on this call today? Well, here's a couple of things that I would tell myself, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on each of these as we go forward with the presentation. One of the things that I've learned is you have to be you. You have to be your authentic self. And to do that, be proud of where you came from and know where you came from, because I guarantee you learned a few things from that journey. Always be yourself. Have a great work ethic. Work hard and also learn. Be open to learning new things. And then be strategic about your career, volunteering for things, and also to make sure that you have the right people behind you. So, where did Rosa come from, and what was my journey? This is an image of the Washington Heights section of Manhattan. For those of you who are from New York City, I am from New York City. Well, actually, I was an immigrant to New York City. I am from the Dominican Republic. I was born there and immigrated to the Washington Heights section of Manhattan with my parents. It's also now called Little Dominican Republic. So in some circles, I am pura dominicana. English is my second language. And, growing up, and many of you, by the way, may know about this section of Manhattan because it was actually a movie called In the Heights. The movie was directed and written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It was a play before that. And I can tell you that growing up in the Washington Heights section of Manhattan was not like the movie. Yes, there was dancing, and yes, there was great food and lots of celebrations. It was also a very tough neighborhood. It was crack central, lots of drugs, and you had to be careful, right? So it was not exactly all like the movie. I had a very supportive family, and we would say that I come from very humble roots. We definitely were below the poverty line, myself and my parents and my siblings. There were times that we didn't know where the rent was coming from, or my dad would lose his job like around the holidays, and we would constantly worry about, is he going to get laid off this year, right? That was our reality. We also had a very rich culture, being Hispanic, being very family oriented. There was a certain lightheartedness. There was a certain level of optimism about coming to the U.S. and really reaching the American dream. Loved to dance and had lots of home-cooked meals. My mom made all of our clothes. Our family worked hard, and I learned from them what it meant to have a work ethic, what it meant to be present during tough times, and how to lean on each other. There was also a seriousness about how we were growing up, because there was a lot that was riding on this next generation, on my generation, because my parents gave up their hopes and dreams for us. And so it was up to us to really make that happen. And I learned a lot about being resilient, going through those times and coming out at the end just as fine, and knowing that you can get through this. You can get through that period where you don't know where your rent is going to come from, or you can get through that period where you're just living in a one-bedroom apartment and sharing a twin bed with your sister, right? Like, that's how we lived, but it was also happy times. And one of the things that was great for me was going to school. I went to New York City public schools, elementary schools on the left, and then college all the way on the right. That's where I learned how to speak English. And I enjoyed learning. And, one of the things going through those schools that I learned, especially in my younger years, was how to observe culture, how to learn a language. So learning English, learned how to be polite. As a brown girl going through school, the more polite that you were, the better that you would be treated. I learned how to follow rules. Again, that was important. I also learned that I was also considered a little different than others. I remember being in a very young grade and our teacher telling the boys and the girls to line up, and we were going to go on a school trip, and she said, boys and girls, you each line up and then you have to hold hands. And the rule follower that I was, I listened to my teacher and I extended my hand out to the little boy next to me and, was going to hold his hand. He refused. For the life of me, I was like, why is this little boy refusing? I promised I didn't do anything to him. And it was a little traumatic for little Rosa. And he, very politely also told the teacher that he didn't want to hold my hand because he didn't want my color to rub off on him. It's probably the first time that I thought, like, people see me a little differently. So I went instead of like this, I said, look, my hands on this side are much more light skinned and that won't rub off. So even then I was thinking about, even in differences, you could try to find some common ground. Every day I looked forward to going to school because I loved learning. And the advice from my mom and my grandmother was like, open your aperture, illuminate your understanding by learning, have faith in yourself. And so it was so gratifying that I had a family that believed in me. I also had teachers that believed in me. There's no feeling like that in the world. My teachers helped me with, making sure that I had the right guidance. My teachers guided me to apply to the Bronx High School of Science, which is a really specialized school in New York City and really hard to get into. And I thrived there. I learned that I could handle a competitive environment, that I loved it. At all times throughout my high school career, and then going on to college at NYU, I worked. I've been working since I was 14. I paid for my own school supplies, bought my clothes, helped with my sister. I just knew that if I worked hard and I applied myself, good things would happen. And through that process, I also learned to believe in myself. Growing up in the neighborhood that I did as an immigrant, we had a lot of people that didn't make it out of the neighborhood. And expectations for young girls who looked like me were not great. The expectations were that we would somehow, be another statistic, another person that had, some form of teenage pregnancy or something like that, right? Just very, very low expectations. But believing in yourself means that you do not listen to those voices, that you listen to the voice inside of you, and that you believe in yourself and what you can do, and you can do anything. And that's what I believed. And that's what I did. So graduating from NYU with a liberal arts degree in psychology and classics, I was like, what am I going to do with this degree? So I applied for a role in a Wall Street firm to learn technology and join a training program. And like many who apply for entry-level roles, you get a phone screen or some kind of initial screen to see if you're a good fit, and then you get invited to some kind of decision-making day. And that happened to me. So I made it through the initial screen. I went through the interview process, and I was invited to a Super Saturday. And I walk into this room. It was a big conference room, and there were a lot of men there. And they all looked quite similar. This was back before it was cool to have hoodies and stuff at work and jeans. So everyone looked like, they were all dressed in blue suits, white shirts. It's like the uniform. And I walk in. There's Rosa with her NYU degree and thinking, I am going to get this training program job. And I was wearing a green suit. I'm wearing green today, coincidentally. And so I stood out. And I led with myself. I led with what I knew. I led with my joy of learning, and I got the job. And so all of us have to start somewhere. And starting at the bottom is a great place to start. Be yourself always. And you know what? Show style. It's okay to be different and to show who you really are. During my roles in various different Wall Street firms, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, now JPMorgan Chase, one of the things that really I believe in and I have seen is that many these organizations, value meritocracy, right? And I heard that is like, if you work hard, if you apply yourself, if you do the right things, good things are going to happen. And I knew that I could do that. I could work hard, and I can do those things. And I knew that I also loved learning, so I learned technology, which again opened so many doors for me. So one of the things when all of you join a role, you will hopefully have a career path. And I hope that you all have long careers, great careers. And, I was, doing my roles and went from trainee to associate to senior associate. Then I made it to vice president and to executive director. So I was moving down a path, and I was like, this is great. The big promotion on Wall Street is getting to managing director. That's kind of executive level. That big promotion, that eluded me for a bit. And I saw people going by, and I was just stuck. I was not getting that opportunity. And I was just, what do I need to do to distinguish myself? What do I need to do that's going to net me there? And sometimes it's not just hard work. That's a critical element, but it's not all. So one strategy that I learned that I wanted to share with you is that sometimes you think, I'm going to get noticed because I'm going to work on the sexiest project or the brand new technology. Sometimes what will get you noticed is doing something that no one else wants to do. And that's what I did. I raised my hand to go through some data analysis on some issues that we had in our technology organization. And that got me presentations with our chief information officer. And it shed a different light around what I can do. It took effort. It took time on my part. But anything that's worthwhile is going to take hard work. And again, that's something that I'm very comfortable doing, working hard. But what else? Can you really do this on your own? All of us have gotten to where we have because of the help of someone, whether that's your parents, your family, your teachers. And when you get to the workplace, it's no different. You need many people around you to help you achieve your goals. For those of you who play sports or have played sports, coaches help you. And mentors will help you, somebody that you could look up to. And then the one thing that makes a really big difference is a sponsor. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. If you have a coach, they're working with you on something really specific. If you're on a team, maybe they're working with you on, on a specific move or something like that, or a tactic. If you're playing, my daughter played volleyball, and how to really position yourself to hit the ball and spike the ball in a specific way. At work, you may need a coach to help you with presentation skills or some other type of skill. Coaches will talk to you. Sometimes mentors help. I've had many mentors in my career that have guided me, that have given me advice, that have shared their career journeys in the hope that I will learn from that career journey and that I am benefiting from their sage advice. Mentors talk with you. The sponsor, the advocate, is the creme de la creme of what you need in your career. And I wish I would have known this earlier in my career. An advocate, a sponsor, talks about you. I'm a big fan of Broadway, as you saw from my In the Heights note with Lin-Manuel Miranda. And in Hamilton, the musical, they say you have to be in the room where things happen. Having somebody that has a seat at the table in the room where things happen, and that individual talking about you will make a very big difference in your career. That person is a sponsor. That person is an advocate. I benefited from that. So when I went through and I was stuck and I, volunteered for something and did that big project that no one else wanted to do, my sponsor took note because I worked hard for that. And sponsor relationships are earned relationships. Anybody could have a mentor, you could ask for one, you can hire a coach for things, but a sponsor has to see you in action. You have to show and demonstrate the impact that you could have to that sponsor. Sometimes you will have experienced that in school with a professor or something like that that's advocating for you. And this is going to make a difference. They're going to make sure that you get on that next project or that you are considered for that promotion. Again, having someone that believes in you, that is, that has your back and is talking about you in the room where things happen, that's advocating on your behalf. So be strategic. And by being strategic, I mean you are the CEO of You Inc. So you have to make sure that you're getting the coaching that you need, that you have the mentorship that you need, that you are working on earning sponsorship, demonstrating the impact that you have in your roles so that someone can talk about you in rooms where things happen. Volunteer for things that no one wants to do that are essential to your organizations. That will get you noticed. Work ethic will go a long way. And all of us know the value of hard work. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be on this webinar, right? You want to know about these things. But earn that sponsor and have those mentors and coaches that are going to help you along the way and open those opportunities for you and see you for who you are, see your light, see all that you can do, and will reward you for those things in your career. So we've talked about a number of things around like lessons that I would give around being yourself, being authentic, having a great work ethic and learning, and then being strategic and having a mentor, sponsors, coaches. What else would I tell myself? Women sometimes are told that we're really emotional or can be emotional. In the workplace, and especially as a leader, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have empathy. Caring deeply and showing it. Caring deeply about what you do, people around you, that makes a difference. And so when I was working during the financial crisis, so a number of years ago on Wall Street, I was in charge of a pretty significant organization. So I was like the boss, right? So it's what you aspire to. You're in charge. You have significant responsibility. You have to make decisions too. You have to make decisions. And it's not just that you lead, but you also are running a business. And during the financial crisis, it was hard on Wall Street firms. And so I was at Morgan Stanley at the time, and our stock went really low during that time, and we couldn't afford to keep everyone. And so one of the hardest things that I did as a leader was having to tell someone that we couldn't afford to have them on our staff and we had to let them go. The things that used to happen to my dad, I had to tell someone. I had to let them go. Not something that I enjoyed doing. we were doing this pretty regularly. And so one of the things that I did was, and one of the things that's really important as a leader is also to communicate. So when we went through one of these periods of letting some people go, I had to get all of my team that was still employed and let them know that this had happened, why it happened, that we want to make sure that we treat our colleagues with respect as they're going through this, and obviously communicate the situation. I was in one of those meetings after letting some people go, and I started getting quite emotional. And as I couldn't get through kind of my prepared remarks, I just thought about the people that I cared about. And I said, I apologized to the group of over 100 people that I was talking to. And I said, I'm really sorry that I'm getting this emotional. I had to let some people go that I've worked with a long time. And at that moment, I thought that I had failed as a leader. So I go back to my office and I kind of am like, oh my gosh, I totally lost it. These people are not going to see me as a boss that I am. And quite the contrary. My direct reports came to me after that meeting and I said, look, I'm really sorry I lost it. And they're like, Rosa, there is no one else that we'd want as a leader, because what you showed us is that you care. We know that you have to make tough decisions, but there isn't anyone that I want making tough decisions than you, precisely because you care. And so when you make those decisions, you're going to think about people. And that's important. We all will make tough decisions. And I know all of you, as you're either on your career, getting started, will be there. I guarantee you will have to make tough decisions in your career journey. When you do that with care. Be human. Respect others and show that empathy. Show how much you care and that respect for others. Because that is what people will look up to and think about as a leader and appreciate in your leadership style. And I certainly learned that. So I talked about all these things about, being authentic. I also wanted to leave you all with a tool and some homework, which is, how do you know what you are like? Well, I'm going to show you what I am like and what I am like to work with. A picture speaks 1,000 words. And I don't know if there's 1,000 words here. But one of the things and exercises that I did, I was switching roles and moving to a new organization. And I thought, how am I going to express to a new team what I am like to work with? And so what I did was I asked people that I had worked with to tell me 3 words that would describe what I am like. And I put all those words and I kept that list going, and it's a long list, and I made it into a word cloud. You can find that on the internet in an app anywhere. And so the larger the word, the more it appeared. And so these are my strengths. If you are here, you are probably a type AA plus personality. You're ambitious, you care about your career. All of us want to fix or address the things that maybe need a little bit more attention. So, if we ever get an evaluation, we always skip to like, what could I do better? Also remember that you got here for a reason, because you have strengths. Leverage those strengths every day. that's important and that will get you even farther than what you think. And do this exercise. Ask people that know you well to give you three words that would describe you and keep this going, and make sure that you are leveraging these strengths every day. There is no one like you. No one like you in this world. So be yourself, because everyone else is taken. This is one of my favorite quotes. So this is Women's History Month, and we celebrated International Women's Day. Let me just do this so I could read this a little bit better. And one of the things that we did here at JP Morgan was that we had this exercise so I'm just going to put this a little bit more in focus here so I can read this. Do this. To write a letter for a person in our life. And if you're interested, we actually posted a video on LinkedIn where we have a number of women at JP Morgan Chase giving advice for someone in their life. And as I was thinking about talking to all of you today, I wanted to share the letter that I wrote, and in this case, the letter that I wrote to my daughter. But in this case, I want to read this letter to you, to my sisters in cybersecurity. And so, to my sisters in cybersecurity, know that there is no one like you in this world. You are special. You can do anything. You have superpowers. Leverage them every day. When you feel uncomfortable and have butterflies in your stomach, embrace them. That is how you know that something matters. There is beauty in making mistakes. That is how you learn and grow. When you stumble, what matters is how you rise back up. Believe in yourself, have faith, be positive, and smile. The world is a better place because of you. I will always be your strongest cheerleader. I cannot wait to see all the great things that you will do. Okay. So that is my, it's funny, when I was putting this presentation together, I had written this letter and I had some of these thoughts, and then I put these things together. And as I was going through the different aspects of and components of the presentation, I realized that some of the themes that I had in this letter, I echoed in my presentation. And so it's really like from my heart to yours that I wanted to read that to you. So one of the things that I think is also important is to have people around you that lift you up, to have community. How wonderful is it in this organization that there is a sisterhood in cybersecurity? Because these are the people who will lift you up, who you can talk to. This is a network that you cannot create anywhere, because not only is it around expertise in cybersecurity, but it's also a community of women. These are some photos, and yes, I love taking selfies. These are some photos of some of my support system here at JP Morgan Chase. You'll see our CISO, Pat Opet, there. Many of my colleagues here, some of which I'll talk about in a second. But these are the people that are here for us all the time. We have a great environment here at JP Morgan, and it's collegial, it's collaborative. We all lean on each other. We all learn from each other. We're there for each other when it matters. And that's what you want in a working environment and with colleagues. And I'm really happy that I have this opportunity to share this with you today. So with that, because I want to make sure that I allow a lot of time for questions, I wanted this webinar, this presentation has been in my heart to give to you for a while. I was originally slated to give this to you, to talk to all of you last year, and my mom passed away. And I was really not in the right frame of mind to to review this with you and talk to all of you about some of these topics. And so the people that you see here are some of my colleagues that, one, asked me to do this presentation with you and talk to all of you. And then also were there when I said, I'm not ready. And they were very patient with me, including the WiCyS organization. So I just wanted to say thank you for being patient with me and giving me the space to process what was a difficult time for me, and just being part of my squad always, because I really value you. And I hope that all of you, again, appreciated, what I said here today. So I'm going to leave you with something, and then I'll go back to questions, but this is one of my favorite quotes. And it's from Maya Angelou, which I'll read to you. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I hope that all of you took something away from learning about my journey, some of the lessons that I learned along the way, some of the difficulties that I encountered and how I rose back up. I hope that I made you all feel something today, because that is what we should all do and all do for each other. So this is also, you can feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll go through questions now, but in one of my LinkedIn posts on International Women's Day, I spoke about how important it is for role models to be seen and heard. Maybe out there's somebody like me, a little Dominican girl or a brown colored girl who's thinking about, can I have a long career in technology? Can I make it in cybersecurity? It's important that we have those dreams. It's important that we see role models in those roles, because we have to dream it, we have to see it, and then be it. And then, as I did growing up, we have to celebrate it. And I hope to celebrate all of you, because know that in me you have a cheerleader. And I cannot wait to see all the great things that you will do. I am going to stop my screen share so that I can see the questions, and I'm going to now take some of the questions for you. So I'm just going to go through, and please keep the questions coming, because I will be here with you till 3. So I left plenty of time for questions. So, and please feel free on there to let me know, like, if you liked what I said, if this resonated with you. And so I'm another fellow Washington Heights person facing challenges. Thank you for sharing. It is important that we share our paths. I am proud of my path. And one of the things that I love also about working here is that, like, my boss knew that I was doing this presentation, what I was going to talk about, and he was so excited about it, for me to share this path with all of you, because I think that's what we need to do. We need to share stories, and I know all of you have stories as well. Have your sponsors, mentors, coaches typically been older than you? Have you ever had or known anyone who had someone in their role models that were younger? Okay, so a sponsor, a mentor, a coach can be all of those things. Typically, a sponsor is, a more senior, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be younger in age. I have a mentor that is younger than me. And my mentor is actually teaching me more about a specific area of technology that I want to learn more about. So he's mentoring me in that, and I sought that out. And I think that's important. We can all learn from each other. And so, again, it's more important that you have them in those roles and that you understand what they are, so that you can benefit from that for your career. The other question, Throughout your career trajectory, are you seeing trends and skills and becoming more valuable in the workforce, technical versus soft? On this question, I think it's honestly a balance of both. When you are starting out in your career, you have to make a name for yourself. And to do that, you typically need, skills. You need those hard technical skills. And that's important because that's what's, again, you notice, it's what's going to get you on the projects. You have to show that impact. The quote unquote soft skills are not so soft skills. You will need that if you want to go further in your career. You're going to need to understand how to work with people, how to listen, how to show empathy, how to care about things, how to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And as the more senior that you get, those soft skills are really hard skills that you need to get ahead. So you have to always balance both. And we work in technology, it's always changing. You always have to stay current. And there's so many ways that you could do that, whether that is, through your peer group, to getting mentors like I am, going training, whatever you do. We're always should be learning on both sides, both hard and soft skills, because you need that to succeed. Do you often feel the burden of representing all women in places? You are the only woman. Yes, sometimes yes. We will get that. It's like I've had a great experience with you, so therefore, like, all women who look like you should be great. Or like, you really surprised me because I've not like encountered someone like you that looked like you who was actually good at what they did. This is why it's important, like, to just be yourself. And look, we all rest on the shoulders of someone, whether that's our parents, our teachers, where we came from, our backgrounds, our socioeconomic status, whatever it is, we rest on the shoulders of those who came before us. The only thing that you have control over is how you show up every day. I hope that all of you show up shining a bright light on all of those superpowers that you have. Remember, do that little exercise that I gave you, and you could show all of those superpowers every day. And I hope that you're doing that, shining that light on that, because that's how we will all make a difference. It's really hard to see the screen. I'm sorry about it being hard to see the screen. What I could do is share the presentation with WiCyS, and they will hopefully get that to you. So let me just, make sure that I have all of the. Okay, so a few more. Not so much a question, but I'll read this. And I want to thank, there's a number of colleagues from JPMorgan Chase that are here. I want to thank you for all of your support. It means so much to me that you're here and supporting me. Not a question, but as a brown girl who did a career change and joined JPMC late in her career, this resonated and inspired me. My path is untraditional in the sense that I am starting over in a corporate world, and as someone who is used to developing others, now needing a different type of mentor sponsors. Thank you for your willingness to share your journey. Oh, thank you. Hope to meet you soon as well. Another question. How do you make time for knowledge and training when you are knee-deep in work because of your strong work ethic? One, that is a really good question. And one thing that is hard for those of us who, again, I'm an immigrant. I have this immigrant mentality of like, work hard. Remember to be strategic. You have to understand where you, this was advice that I received, where you need an A, where a B is good enough, or a passing grade is good enough. And know that, because you have to make time to stay current, especially in technology. That's really important that you do that. So make the time, and you can make learning fun, whether that is getting a few people together for a lunch and learn, or as I am, just having, getting mentor sessions every once in a while. You can calendar them, put them in your calendar. That way you do them. But once a week doing something is fine. Reading is great. Reading articles, reading tech trends. All of that is wonderful ways to just stay current and making that fun. There's a couple of books, like the Phoenix Project is one of them, and the Unicorn Project, which is learning about technology in kind of a fun, kind of novel way, like as in reading a novel. Those are some great things too. How does information security differ between industries, banks, software? In terms of information security, it is, and my colleague Rachel is on, and I know that I'm going to steal a word that she used in a panel discussion that we had just this week. Information security is a multidisciplinary field, and there are many aspects of it that are the same, and maybe some that are a little bit, that differ. But we all have to think about what the threats that are out there that are aimed towards us. So in financial services, you may have certain threats. We're in the business of trust. That's one thing. If you are working in software, then you have to make sure you're putting software out there that does not have vulnerabilities, etc. So many of them are the same. It's important to understand that, we all have to deal with very similar threats. And then you have to understand what's important to your business and go through kind of like understanding the various different threats that may come at you, what's external, what's internal, and go through those levels of assessment. Frameworks help a lot in that respect as well, which are attributable to everyone. So just some more, I'm getting really nice comments, which are great. And I'm so glad that some of this resonated with all of you around, being same background as myself. And, the fact about raising your hand in projects, and that helped. So that's another area. Let me just go through and see if there's any other questions, but please keep the questions going. This is a good one. Have you ever struggled with imposter syndrome? If yes, how do you get over that? If not, give some suggestions. Imposter syndrome is real. I battle with that all the time. And so there's an aspect of imposter syndrome that I think I'm going to carry with me, just because I see myself as this little immigrant girl who's learning English, who's trying to make it in a different culture. And I'm like, I don't think that I'm worthy for this. And what has helped me is having community. To have someone by my side that knows me to say, one, you got this. So that squad, that picture of that squad that I showed, and who I have, in my squad at JP Morgan, that's important. Because that's what you're going to need to get you through that. Because you have always two voices, right? You have the one voice that's your imposter syndrome, and there's another voice that you have. And that's that voice of the people who support you, the people who are lifting you up, the people that are telling you that you can do this. Listen to that voice a little bit more, and that will help. Do you have any tips for someone who has been way too modest and humble, which results in holding me back from knowing how to sell myself and move up into more senior roles? This is a great question. I struggled with this. And one of the things that I think this is for women, and I grew up, Catholic girl from the Heights, and Hispanic family, respect is a big thing. And for especially for young girls who were supposed to be seen and not heard. So there's so many things that you almost have to adjust and understand. That selling yourself and showing that you are quote unquote not humble is so hard, right? Because that's not how we're wired. That's not what we're supposed to do. But I will give you one tip that definitely helps, is you can tell the truth. you have done certain things. What are those things? Just tell the truth. Say what you did. That's not networking. That's not marketing. That is a valid truth. Your squad can help. Those mentors can help. Somebody did a great job on something. Somebody sent you a note. Forward that to somebody. You're not marketing yourself. You're telling the truth. And you know what? It's fine to just say the facts and what you have accomplished. So turn that story around from I am not marketing, I'm not selling, I am just stating what I did. And here's the feedback that I have on it. Here's the impact that I had on a project. Here's what someone said about what I did in a project. Here are my results. Here are the outcomes that I had. And I think that will help. How do you ask for a sponsor to be a sponsor? So one thing around getting a sponsor, another really great question is make sure that you understand how your organization is structured. So who are those individuals that have influence and who will make those decisions? How do you know that individual? Who do you know that knows that individual? What kinds of things do they need accomplished? So that raising your hand for a project no one else wants to do, guess what? You can volunteer maybe with somebody that you know is influential in your organization. Not necessarily like kissing somebody's what, but like really just saying, you know what, like I know they need help with this. Maybe I could ask if I can help them. A sponsor needs to see you in action. They need to see what you can accomplish, and that's how you earn that relationship. One other aspect that I would suggest, I co-lead our North America Adelante Business Resource Group, which is the Hispanic and Latina resource group. Through that effort, I have met a number of people that volunteer their time. Again, volunteering for things. And through that, I have advocated for people that I have met, or I'm like, I think that there's a role here that might be helpful to you. Do you know this person? So sometimes it's actually being involved in some other volunteer things for those leaders to see you, to see how you operate, to see how you work, and that's how you earn the sponsor. So those are a couple of tips. Thank you for all the kind words. I love that I have some fellow New York City people in the house. I am a high school dropout and a bit of an, I don't even know how to say that word, autodidact. I have some experience in IT, but want to transition into cyber. Is there any advice for how to get that first job? Start somewhere. So there's a lot of different roles in cyber, multidisciplinary organization. So sometimes it's starting in, maybe it's a product role, or maybe you are in Scrum. You could learn Agile. You could do that online. We have all of those different roles. So the important thing is to start. And I loved that also that you are owning your background. Because that's, again, like you are being yourself. And I love that you are doing that. Sometimes you have to try different avenues, volunteer. Sometimes nonprofit organizations sometimes need some help in some of these areas. And so maybe that's a way that you can start going there and volunteering for those kinds of roles. So just different things that you can do there. And again, I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that if we connect on LinkedIn. Will you be offering a cohort? I'm not sure what that means, but if there's a cohort that I can do with WiCyS and have like more roundtable talks, I'd be happy to do that. Okay. All right, let me see if there's more questions. Whoops. Let's see. Let me go back up. Again, thank you for the kind words. Thanks so much for your honesty. I appreciate that. What is the best advice you can give to someone to find her first job in cybersecurity? I mentioned that a little bit before. You're doing the right things. We're very active in WiCyS here at JP Morgan. So tell us what your background is, find one of us, and we'll help you in any way that we can. Have your resume prepared. Think about the different roles that you want to do and what your background is, and then just try some of that. On a similar note on previous questions, I feel like I need a mentor to advance my career, and I think I have those people who really care about me. However, being humble and introvert is such a great that you mentioned this. I always find it hard to ask for help. Also, as an immigrant, the cultural differences get in the way as well. Please provide some suggestions. So, thank you. I so resonate with this question around cultural differences. One of the things that I learned in any organization, and as an immigrant, you have done this. You got this, which is you know how to observe. You know how to figure out the rules because you have to do it and navigate society every single day. It's the same thing in a corporation. There's rules, there's a culture, observe. That will help you. In terms of, mentor and being humble is a good thing. I come from very humble roots, and I am a very humble person. Make sure that you have, again, people who are lifting you up, and also that other little voice that says that you did all these things. Write down, especially, by the way, use whenever it's time for evaluation time and self-evaluations, write through the things that you did factually. You will feel so much more confident in representing that, right? Knowledge is power and truth is power. So when you're writing something that is truthful, you are going to feel better about it, even if you are an introvert. Share something. If you have somebody that you trust, if you have a mentor that you trust and that's trustworthy, take a chance, again, provided that they're trustworthy and so it's in confidence, share with them how you're writing something about you and ask them to review it. Have a good balance of I and we. As women, we tend to use we a lot or contributed to. Think about the language that you're using and be truthful to yourself. And I think that will help. And then if you can find some immigrants as mentors that have been there, this is why I love these kinds of organizations, because you find people from different backgrounds that, hopefully something will resonate. Ask them some questions on this matter. This is why I freely share about this, because I think we have to talk about it and help one another. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. So we're coming up on time. I cannot emphasize enough how much I have enjoyed spending this time with you. This has been in my heart to review with you. Thank you for being there with me and letting me share my heart with you. Thank you for your time.